recordings लगानी. Oh yeah. I do presume that you guys have read the story Sibylline Books. Have you?
जी.
Rafe, what about you?
नहीं मैं अभी तक नहीं पढ़ी.
क्यों बेटा? When I give you a task, when I assign a task, I expect you guys to complete the task. I was planning to, discuss the question answers so that I'll assign today's task to you guys.
मैम दो ही बच्चे हैं क्वेश्चन आंसर कैसे होने.
तो एक बच्चा ही जवाब देगा ना दो में से फिर. Only Amira will be answering since you haven't read.
ये तो unfair हो जाएगा.
हाँ ना तो that will be wrong.
तो इसलिए तो कह रहा हूँ रहने दे.
नहीं I can't रहने दे it is. अच्छा. I'll give you a little gist of the story. I'll start. Amira, you're going to, wherever I stop, you're going to give me the rest of the story. Okay?
जी.
Acha, this is basically an ancient Roman legend. Remember in the title, your word is the Sibylline Books. Sibyl is basically a prophetic woman, and any kind of a woman who gives out prophecies. Okay? Prophecies are basically things about the future. When you predict something about the future, it's called a prophecy or an oracle. Oracle. Oracle is another word that we use for a prophetic person. Okay? Sibyls were basically priestesses who used to give out prophecies or oracles about what might happen in the future or how a future event can be solved. Okay? So there was this Sibyl from somewhere in Rome, Italy, I presume, and she wrote 12 books, okay, all full of wisdom. And once she was done, she bound the books, she binded them with leather and gold, and then she carried all these books on her back in a huge piece of cloth, and she came to King Tarquin. Now, King Tarquin was called Tarquin the Proud. Why? Because he was very proud of the way he was ruling his region, and he made Rome very prosperous. This story is from the 6th century BC. So one day, as the people they gathered in the marketplace of Rome, what happened, Amira? This is the opening of the story.
मैम वो जब description पूछ रही हैं या फिर जो आगे होता है?
How did the story open? Everybody was gathering.
And basically, एक market है, वहाँ पर सारे हैं.
English में बेटा, English.
There's this market and everyone is in it and they're looking at the woman because she's like really old. She has wild hair. She stands out. And they're curious what's in her bag. Even the king gets curious.
What does it mean to have wild and knotted hair? What kind of hair are wild?
One that haven't been showered in a very long time.
Very good. And what does this show? There's another thing it says. Can you, both of you, read the last 2 lines of paragraph 1? Yes, Rafe. How could you tell that the old woman had walked a long way? Rafe?
Make second. पेज नंबर बता सकती हैं? मैंने पेज नंबर खोला हुआ था वो एकदम से घूम गया.
Page number 28, paragraph 1, last 2 to 3 lines. based on the information given in these lines, can you tell me how do we know that the old woman had walked a very long way?
And the wrappings on her feet,
Okay, and
and she was laden with a heavy sack, and it looked as though she had walked a long way.
how do we know that she had walked a long way? Yes, the answer is the wrappings on her feet, and her hair was wild and knotted. Knotted means when your hair are tangled, because you've been in a lot of wind. Your way was so long, you didn't bother, you didn't have anything to wash up. And you see, another word for wild is unkempt. If you remember, we've done this word when we were doing OPE 8. Remember?
Proportion wala, parentate.
Yes, parentage. In parentage, you had the word unkempt. So wild and knotted is is synonymous to unkempt. Okay? Yes. What happened next? The next three lines, Rafi, can you read them? Paragraph 2, first three lines.
The old woman walked purposefully through the marketplace to the portals of the palace. From his balcony, King Tarkin had seen the old woman, and he was curious to know what she was carrying.
What she was carrying. Now, if you see the fifth word, purposefully, what do you think the word suggests?
Meaningfully.
Meaningfully, that she did it on purpose. She moved through the market with something in her mind, and with a purpose, she stopped in front of the portals of the palace. Okay? That is, she wanted specifically to be noticed by someone of a higher authority, probably the king, so that she would get the permission be granted to her, and she may enter the palace. And sure enough, the king notices her and asks his people to let the lady enter the audience chamber. Now, what kind of a place do you think is an audience chamber?
Where the king's subjects are.
Where the king listens to his subjects, where the people he is ruling, they come to him with their problems and he grants them an audience. Okay? He listens to their problems and probably looks for a solution to their problems. Okay? Now, what happened next was, yes, Amina, what happened next? The lady, she gets to enter inside the audience chamber. What happens next?
She offered the king books for 1 bag of gold.
How many books?
12.
12. And what does the king say?
He tells us that she must be mad as she looks.
Okay.
And she's not giving her the money.
Okay, so it is 1 bag of gold in place of 12 books. Okay? So what does she do? What does the king say? He considers her mad. And what does he say? Does he take the books?
No.
What is...
He tells her to go home.
Sorry?
He tells her to go home. He tells her to go home. He's not taking the books.
And what does the lady do?
She says she'll go and she'll burn the half.
She'll burn half of them. And then what happens? She goes to the
Then it's a cold winter.
Yeah, she goes to the marketplace, buys some firewood and burns 6. That is half of the 12 books in the center of the marketplace. And then she leaves. After which, what happens?
A cold winter.
A very
Frozen wala.
Very, very cold winter. Bilkul, exactly. Just like Elsa and Anna's frozen winter. And the people, they start to suffer. They don't have enough to eat. They don't have enough to sell or bargain or trade. And people begin, their suffering stage begins. So the next spring, what happens?
She comes back as she said she would.
Now, how many books does she have this time?
6.
6. What does she do? She goes to the king,
Uh,
and what price does she offer the 6 books to him?
She offers him for now 2 bags of gold.
For 2 bags of gold. She offers him 6 books for 2 bags of gold. Okay? And does he agree?
No,
No, he still doesn't agree. So what does she do?
she burns half again.
She burns half of them again. How many books are left?
3.
3. Now, and then again, she goes back. The third, and this time the winter comes again, and the winters are much harsher compared to the previous years. And the suffering of the people of Rome, it is doubled. Obviously, because their suffering is doubled, people are now waiting. Everybody knows that the books they contain, prophecies and wisdom related to how these problems can be solved. And people, they start talking ill about their king, that what if he had bought these books, we would not be suffering as we are right now. So what happens next is, again, the people, they're suffering and suffering. At last, the winter comes to an end. The spring season comes. The old woman comes again. This time, her load is way much lighter. She has got only 3 books. Now, again, she offers the books to the king, and she says that if you will not, agree to buy them, I'm going to burn 2 of these, and I'll take 1 back with me, and also I have brought my own firewood this time, and I will not even have to go to the marketplace. I'll burn them right over here in the palace. And the king says, okay, what is your price? And she says, 4 bags of gold. See, the number of books is decreasing. The amount she's asking for is doubling every time. It was 1 bag for 12 books, then 2 bag for 6 books, and then 4 bags for 3 books. And now she's asking 4 bags of gold for 3 books. Again, the king refuses, and she burns 2 of the books, even stamping. Once the books are burnt, she even stamps on the ashes to make sure that nobody can find anything from the debris, from the ash. One man does even try. Once she leaves, one man does try to rummage through the ashes, but finds nothing. And then people, they start talking ill. They don't have any more trust in their king, and they start talking bad about their king. See what kind of a heartless king we have. He doesn't even care about us. And so again, for the 4th time, the old woman returns. Yes, Amira, what happens now?
She comes, she only has 1 book, and she asks 8 bags of gold this time.
And what does before she comes, what does the King Tarkin say? Do you think, does King Tarkin want to buy the book this time, no matter what the price?
Yes.
Yes.
His people are against him, basically.
Yes, yes. So what happens then? This time, the old woman, what kind of a load does she have? She have a heavy load or a lighter load?
She has a really light one that gets heavy afterwards.
Yes. So what happens? How much gold does she want for a single book this time?
8 bags of gold. And she even threatens him that I'm going to burn them right here and then.
Exactly. And what does the king do?
He buys them.
Okay, he buys 1 book for 8 bags of gold. And what does she have to say? Before
now you have 1/12 of the world's knowledge and wisdom.
Yes. So Rafe, I'd like you to read from line number 89, that is page number 31, the last paragraph, the last chunk. From page line number 89, 86, 87, the 8 bags of gold.
The 8 bags of gold were fetched from the palace coffers, and the old woman filled her sack. Farewell, your majesty, she called as she left the city. Bend double under the weight of the gold. You have 1/12 of the world's knowledge and wisdom. Fare as best you can with it, but what a tragedy for the world that you did not buy all 12.
Yes. What do you think this last statement means? Fare as best as you can. Fare as best as you can means that use them to the best of your knowledge, as much as you can whenever needed. Now, last line, Rafe. What a tragedy for the world that you did not buy all 12. What do you think this means?
The line is rhythmic.
Okay, yes, it is rhythmic. But what does this mean? What a tragedy for the world that you did
He
not.
shouldn't have let it all burn. He should have just bought them in the first place.
He should have bought them in the first place when she was selling them for cheap, and the wisdom was 12-fold. Okay? Now, the wisdom is just one part of what she had originally brought. And the world could have, what should be the word?
Prospered.
Prospered, yes, and the world would have been made. The world would have made use of a lot of wisdom. There would have been a lot of wisdom, and people would have taken a lot of, advantage, or they would have gained a lot from it. But now that instead of that huge amount, only one little chunk is left, it is obviously a tragedy. And when you look at it from the financial point of view, she was giving 12 books for one bag. Now she has given one book for 8 bags of gold. So yes, it is a tragedy. Yes, if we look at it from a different perspective, yes, people don't bother much about wisdom, isn't it so? People, they would rather keep their money to themselves instead of buy a book. Remember, books, reading books. See, I often tell you guys, reading books never hurt anybody. Okay, you do learn one thing or the other from any book that you'll read. So here she had brought 10, 12 books full of wisdom, and the king refused to take them, and eventually he was left with just 1/12 of the world's wisdom. So yes, it was a tragedy. I would like you guys, we have already discussed question number 1 and 2. Question number 3, why did the king feel he should buy the books in paragraph 3, and why did he not do so? Yes, Rafe. Why did the king feel that, yes, there is a need to buy the books this time?
And because he thought if he won, then the price would keep on increasing.
No. Yes, Amira.
Perhaps I better buy these books this time. Sir King Tarklin thought, remembering the sufferings of his people during the previous winter.
Yes. Now, can you give that to me in your own words?
He was thinking that he better buy these books this time because he remembered that the people suffered last time.
Exactly. That he says that it is time that if the old woman returns with the books, he will definitely buy them no matter what the price, because his people were suffering. He didn't want his people to suffer, because once the people suffer, what do? They will
Opposition. Rebellion.
Yes, they'll bring up rebellion, and they'll turn against their ruler. Okay? So when people are not happy in a country, when people are not prospering, when they don't earn enough, when they don't spend enough, they're definitely not happy. And when people are not happy, they turn against their ruler. They bring in a rebellion, they bring in a revolution. And King Tarkin didn't want that. Why? Because he was very proud. Okay? He was proud of himself. He was proud of his rule. He was proud of his people. So, and also remember, because of his pride, he was not buying the books. It was his pride that stopped him from buying the books. Yes. How can you tell in paragraph 4 that the people are becoming worried about the king not buying the books?
It was indeed a bad winter, and many animals froze to death, and a terrible fire destroyed a large part of the game. Yeah, people muttered amongst themselves, criticized the king for not buying the books.
Again, yes, can I have this? You have picked the correct lines, but can you give me the answer in your own words? किसी को अपने own words में explain करें बेटा?
The people were basically worried that if the king had not bought the books again, the more people will die, and they were already too weak, and they would again, a crisis will fall on them again.
Notice the use of the word muttered. Muttering is when we are upset about something and we are speaking in a low tone to ourselves. When you are upset with your parents, अम्मी अब्बू ने किसी बात पर डांटा होता है तो हम क्या करते हैं, किसी से कोई झगड़ा होता है तो हम क्या करते हैं, अपने मुंह में बोल रहे होते हैं ना, आवाज निकाल के बोल रहे होते हैं, लेकिन anger, like sadly, angrily, we are speaking in low tones with ourselves. Okay? That's called muttering. And muttering is something that shows that you are upset. You're upset about something. Okay? So that is a sign that people were not happy. And because it was a harsh winter and people were they were suffering, that's why they were talking ill about their king. Okay, last question. What do you think the what do you think the old woman meant by saying at the end of the story that it was a tragedy for the world that the king did not buy all 12 books? Okay, this I have already discussed with you when we came to the end. Acha, your task is to do question number 1, 2, and 5 from reading for understanding, and question number 3 from reading for meaning. That's page number 31. Take ho gaya? And before you do these 4 questions, again, I would suggest that you guys read the story one more time, since most of you haven't, I'm absolutely sure, and go through the meanings of the difficult words. अगर कहते हैं तो मैं आप लोगों को difficult words भी बता देती हूँ, बल्कि बेहतर यही होगा कि I'll tell you a few difficult words and you write down the word meanings as well this time. ठीक है?
जिन्होंने मेहनत पहले ही कर ली है, वो क्या करें?
वो फिर आगे का काम करेंगे ना, smarty pants. ठीक है? They're only going to do question number 1 to 5 from reading for understanding and question number 3 from reading for meaning. ठीक हो गया? With that, we come to the end of our lesson. Bless you, children. Have a nice day.
इस कहानी से ये पता चलता है परिजात की तरह देर नहीं करनी चाहिए.
जी, बिल्कुल. चले, thank you so very much.